So I'm on the beach at Frinton, and show you around. And I want to talk about eco-spirituality and the AMOC. So the AMOC is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, which is this giant ocean current that travels around the world, but importantly brings warm water from the equatorial regions up into northern Europe, and helps explain why northern European winters are relatively mild compared to the winters, for example, on the same latitude over in Canada and the like, where it's frigid cold, gets down to -40 and the like. And it's this ocean current. And over the last few years, there's been a number of science papers that are suggesting that the AMOC could stop sometime in the not too distant future. Potentially this year, more likely 20 years from now, maybe more likely still 40, 50 years from now. But the point is that there's enough uncertainty about the AMOC collapsing that it's alarming, right? And the other thing is, if it does collapse and it stops, they're thinking it could reduce average temperatures around maybe 5 degrees Celsius, which could effectively lead to vast tracts of northern Europe becoming largely uninhabitable for much of the year, effectively like a mini ice age. So the question is, that's all very scientific and interesting, actually, but how does that relate to eco-spirituality, ecological spirituality? So ecological spirituality is a subset of spirituality broadly. It's that part of spirituality that people feel that is connected into nature, connected into the ecosystem, connected into the seasons and the beaches and the rivers and the wildlife, and reality. It's connected into reality. And the thing about an AMOC collapse, if the AMOC collapses, let's say hypothetically 2 million years ago there was no Homo sapiens and the AMOC collapsed. And the environment changed dramatically. Ice appeared where there wasn't ice before. Marine species left and some came because of the changing conditions. You know, AMOC collapse is just a part of the natural cycle, so it's nothing really to be concerned about. But if AMOC collapses this century, when there are 8 billion people, it's not just northern Europe will be affected, it's also the tropics and monsoons and so forth. Big global, AMOC collapse is a global phenomenon, let's put it that way. That's going to create incredible changes in ecosystems at a time when ecosystems are really, really weak because they've been hammered by increased temperatures and deforestation and pollution and so forth. And in addition to that is the well-being of the human population that's going to be massively impacted. And so if we're going to talk about eco-spirituality, we've got to ground things in the word eco. We've got to ground it in ecosystems. And we've got to ground it not just in ecosystems per se, but in this broader sort of narrative around humans interacting in ecosystems. It's a big white dog. Came to show me his ball. Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to express eco-spirituality in the context of human well-being in a robust and healthy ecosystem. All right? Eco-spirituality, if it's just about the eco, misses out on the well-being of humans, except that humans are a subset of the ecosystem. And so this is a really important point, is the extent to which we actually see ecosystem that includes a subset called humanity, or we see ecosystem and alongside that we see humanity, as though we are putting humanity on an equal footing to the global ecosystem. I think the way I'm framing this is to see ourselves as a subset of the greater whole, and the greater whole is the life support system. All right. Now, if the AMOC collapses, that is going to make great changes to the ecosystem that are going to have very negative impacts on the humans. And so if the humans are a subset of the greater system, we can see that overall that the system is going to suffer, because if one part of the system is suffering, that means the whole is suffering. That's another way of looking at it. I don't actually have a clear answer on this question. The other thing is that, back to the spirituality and the eco, is that one part of spirituality is this concept called awe and wonder and amazement. And I feel that when I'm listening to scientists talk about the AMOC. I feel a sense of awe, because what they're doing through their science is they're giving us insights into this extraordinary Earth system that we live in. And that, for me, is part of that greater thing. So back to spirituality, the idea of spirituality is about being connected to something greater than yourself. And so the scientists that talk about AMOC and research AMOC, and they put probes on the seafloor, and they got satellites measuring the surface, the temperature and the speed of the current. They're examining the seashells on the floor, going down the layers to look at the way that the seashells change over time, which gives an indication of the flow of water in the AMOC. And so learning about the AMOC for me is it's a spiritual practice, because it helps me develop a deeper understanding of this extraordinary Earth system that I feel myself to be a part of. Understanding the AMOC and AMOC collapse issues helps me redefine my purpose, or to define my purpose as somebody who wants to help maintain Holocene-like conditions on this planet. So part of a greater thing, part of the meaning that comes from trying to maintain the integrity of that system and the integrity of our societies, and also the golden rule, this idea of, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but the Vita version is do unto others and the living planet as you would have them do unto you. So doing unto the living planet as we would have it do unto us means that we don't go and aggressively interfere with its natural function, right? So the AMOC changes over time because of various factors associated with orbital wobbles and Milankovitch cycles and a whole bunch of factors I don't fully understand. But then the humans come along and start injecting 50 billion tons a year of carbon into the atmosphere. That is massively shifting and jarring that natural system. We shouldn't do that, because we wouldn't want nature to do that to us. So that's 3 ways in which eco-spirituality ties into the AMOC. Learning about the AMOC. And also just another thing in terms of being with other people, what are you going to do today? If you're going to gather with a half a dozen of your friends down the pub, what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about the football, you're going to talk about your pets, or you're going to have a conversation about the AMOC and share your wisdom. Because everybody that comes into, say, for example, this broadcast, is going to get something different from it, or they're only going to see parts of it, or they're going to be disconnected for some bits because they're distracted. And so talk about the AMOC, talk about the Earth system, create a culture around a reverence for knowledge about these things.